my coffee today because I was told I had to review a Toyota Corolla. Is this it? This doesn't look like a Toyota Corolla. This doesn't look boring at all. This looks amazing. It almost reminds me of a Toyota Matrix that was discontinued many years ago. And it's even in a hatchback form. It even has these nice big wheels on it with pretty decent looking rims. This doesn't look boring. It doesn't look like I need a coffee at all either. So let's have an overview of this 2019 Corolla. Is this something that people should still be looking to buy? Is it still outdated? Well, let's find out. All right, stepping into the new Toyota Corolla. This doesn't look like a prison cell with buttons. Holy cow, this looks really good. I really love the white and black contrast. Is it all cheap though? Ooh, that's really soft actually. Oh, even softer up here. And I love this design here with the vents, how the chrome goes around and wraps it around like a hug. This screen looks really big as well. Moving down. Whoa, really? A Toyota with Apple CarPlay? No Android Auto yet though, sadly. Mostly because Toyota doesn't agree with how Android uses its location data. So hopefully when they battle that one out, Android people will be able to get that as well. A couple caveats though that I don't like. If you're in the home menu here, it takes you at least 2 steps to get to Apple CarPlay. You go to menu, and then you tap Apple CarPlay. I wish there was like an actual button here that can get you to Apple CarPlay faster. There is kind of a way. You can go to phone, and if Android and Apple CarPlay is there it is, it's there, but then you're in the phone menu and still have to tap here. Oh gosh, why am I even complaining about that, honestly? Let's move down. Your climate control is right here. It is harder to see and function or use when you're driving because they're so small and elegant, but after a little while I got used to it. You do actually have dual climate control here as well, and you do have buttons for that. Next, you actually have a wireless charger, and your phone will sit there pretty easily with the cord hanging out there. I found it was easy to forget it though. You move down, you also have a shifter with PRND with manual mode. I'll park it so we don't have to hear that. It does have sport mode and traction control off. You also have parking, digital parking brake and an auto hold, brake hold. What that does is if you're at a stoplight, you don't have to put your foot onto the brake pedal and you can relax instead. And you got 2 cup holders. The water bottle here holds here. The only caveat I should say is you can't remove them to clean them, which is kind of a bummer. And then you also have a center armrest that is very finely padded, and you do have some good storage in there though. You also have another power outlet and USB port. Steering wheel of the Toyota. The buttons are cheap, but you actually do have this toggle switch controls the screen here. You can see that. You do get one touch for all 4 windows. Thank you, Toyota, for the convenience. Another cool feature is you have this auto bright headlights. You can turn it on and off over here. You could also use this to dim or brighten the interior lights in the car. Glove box is damped but not lined with felt, and I actually have gloves in my glove box. Ha! Hopping into the back seat. Ugh. Did I hop into a Mini? Because this is snug. You don't get a lot of leg room, nor do you get a lot of toe room at all. In fact, this is darn right cramped. Which is weird because the old Toyota Corolla was boring, but it had one of the best back seats in the class. This one, not so much. I'll have to test drive the sedan to see if it's any different than the hatchback. But if you're looking for a car that has more compact proportions for like easy city parking and stuff, I think you'd be satisfied with this, but I wouldn't be traveling with 4 passengers anytime soon. You do get an armrest. That's nice, has 2 cup holders, soft padded. I mean, it's really comfortable back here. The materials are actually hard touch in the back here though. You do get a softly padded armrest. And what's interesting is you actually get a cup holder right here with a little extra storage. That's kind of interesting. You also get 2 map pockets here. So they didn't cheapen out and only give you 1 or none. All right, let's set off in this new Toyota Corolla Hatchback. And first things first, we're going to be driving around the city. And it's pretty peppy around here. It enjoys being tossed around these city streets. And the view outside is wonderful. The view in the back, not so much. I mean, it does come with a standard backup camera that doesn't have trajectory, so you'll never know where you're actually going to be running into, but at least you can see when you just do it. Let's first talk about this, the way the car feels when you drive. Seating position. I think these seats are one of the more comfortable seats in the compact car lineup. I've tested several of them. I have not tested the Sentra or the Civic, but these ones, they fit for me. But you know, your body type's always going to be different, so it's always hard to figure out what is right for you. You should definitely go through and test drive all of them, because seating is always overlooked. I don't know why. You're always going to be driving in it. You're going to be sitting in it all the time. Most of the other factors don't matter, so you might need to make sure these things are good to sit in. With that tangent off, let's talk about how the steering wheel feels. It's nice, leather stitched, a little firm, but really nothing to complain about there. And I really like the stitching that's underneath. The turn signals has the headlights on them. They feel cheap, and it's not ergonomically composited for your finger. They're just round. And if you squeeze them in like this, it sounds like you're playing an accordion, which is always fun. The other side, you've got your traditional windshield wipers, as well as your rear windshield wipers that controls all your variable speed. On the back of the steering wheel is probably the best thing that's on the steering wheel, and that is paddle shifters. But you say, why have paddle shifters on a CVT-driven vehicle? Well, this vehicle actually has a first gear. It's a launch gear that helps it accelerate better, especially in that low gear. Because many CVTs have a problem with the initial start acceleration. Once it gets going in the meat of its power band, it is fine. This one here, even if you do jump into the CVT, the paddles are nice and crisp. As you see, I can drop down very easily. And they're very quick to respond, so I'm really impressed. And the feel of the shifters, they have that nice click. Did you hear that? That's awesome. Let's talk about seating position, though. I did say before the seats are very comfortable. If I'm driving like this, using no armrest, that's fine. However, what if you need a little support? Well, I like this. And by golly, that's comfortable. Well, this is nicely padded. You probably can't see that right now, but this is nicely padded, so that's comfortable. However, one thing you will find out that's not very comfortable is your right arm is feeling not the love, really, because this thing, even though it slides, you hear that? It's hard plastic underneath it with about 1/8 of an inch of foam. That's not a lot of foam at all. So your elbow becomes sore on a long trip. So what I find is I just put my elbow like this, and I don't touch the steering wheel with it. Or if I'm going to touch the steering wheel with it, I'll do it like this. Now we're actually going to go through a curve. Yeah, baby. Woo! Alright, this is not a sports car. It is a compact sedan. But for a compact sedan, it's actually pretty spunky. A little bit of body lean, but not much. If you're coming from a small SUV to this, you're going to think this thing is like, I don't know, a Ferrari, maybe not that much. And now we're coming to our construction corner, so that's where we're gonna cut away and tell you how it drives in the winter. So we had a snowstorm yesterday. As you can see, all the driveway here at least is kicked on with like 2 inches of ice and snow. We got about almost a foot. I started shoveling off the car. As you can see, there is multiple inches of snow on this car that I'm going to have to shovel off. How does a 2019 Corolla Hatchback with low profile rims, because it's an XSE, handle the snow? Stay tuned. The first test. Is the Corolla Hatchback going to be able to drive past this mound of snow? If I would be worried if it was an SUV trying to get past through here, but in the name of experimentation and to see is this a car you can buy if you live in the snow states, we're gonna find out. All right, we're here, we're ready to actually go take on the snow. Without further ado, let's see how this thing goes. It didn't work very well. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. All right, it did it. All right, so let's take it on the road now and see how she performs there. Definitely some wheel spin. The thing you got to worry about with this particular car is it is fairly low to the ground. Being low to the ground, it means that if the snow is over a few inches, you're going to bottom out, and I don't recommend doing that. I'm going to stop here. Kind of emergency, but actually it worked pretty well. The anti-lock brake system's not too bad in this car. It doesn't like kick in immediately like the Dodge Durango did. Stability control, it stays controlled. The other thing that's not, if you're gonna buy a car for the snow and it's gonna be your daily driver, I would recommend going with a different tire profile. This is the XSE, and what it gives you wider tires and lower profile tires, which is not the best for snow. What you want for snow is you want a skinnier tire, and hopefully with a higher sidewall than this one, because the wider tire is going to kind of plow through the snow like a snow shovel, and you're going to have more snow in front of the tire because of it, which is going to lose traction. It just happens. The lower profile tires are great for handling, but when it comes to ice and things like that, you could get chipped up a little bit more on the way. You could get stuck, you get snow in those wheel wells, which is going to interfere with the brakes. If you ever had that rumbling sound when you're driving down the freeway and you're like, what the heck is going on? Is my car going to explode? That's probably because there's snow by your brake calipers, and the snow is challenging the balance of the whole system. So those are two things to watch out for. If you keep a shovel in the back, you should be okay. But if you really want to avoid all the manual labor altogether, get yourself a all-wheel drive SUV or truck. Make sure you put some weight in the back end though, because you're definitely not having that 50-50 weight balance if you're driving a truck. Well, this is all I got for the snow portion of the review. All right, and we're back. So, the snow, huh? Well, as you can see now, only like a month later, and there's no snow to be found. Put in comments below if you find snow on my route. All right, going some more curves. Yeah. The steering feel is not great. Can you see this? Can you? I'm shoveling the steering wheel, and it has zero response. It feels like it's not connected to the wheels at all. So that's one downfall of driving this car. We're going to do a sharp corner and go onto this road, and hopefully my camera equipment doesn't fall. Woo-wee! And the 0 to 60 run. Let's do it. and 60. Did you time that? What was that, 0 to 60 seconds? According to my research, this does 0 to 60 in 7.8 seconds, which is admirable for the class. You're kind of right in the middle. If you really want a rocket ship of a compact car for the same price, actually it's a little bit more. You're going to look at your Honda dealer because they have a Honda Civic that does it in 6.9 seconds, which is really good considering it's not even an SI, it's a regular Honda Civic. It has a 1.5 liter turbocharged engines, and the turbocharged engines are generally going to have more performance than the naturally aspirated engines. However, one caveat I have about that Civic is the reliability isn't what they used to be on those engines. In fact, in cold weather, I would steer clear of the 1.5 liter engine. All right, another curve. So the Mazda is going to do better at handling, I think, even though it has leaf spring suspension now versus its independent suspension it had in the previous model year, which is even better handling. The 0 to 60 of the Mazda 3 is going to be in about 7.3 seconds, so it is a little faster. Your Nissan Sentra is going to be slower. Your Cruise will be around the same, actually. We should talk about the brakes. That's very, it's good. It's not going to tear your face off, but it's not going to. It doesn't have any like space between where you touch the brakes and that it has bite. Talk about adaptive cruise control and safety tech on here. You press the button on the right to start the cruise control. It automatically goes into cruise control, and you have 3 different settings for what distance you want. I should be testing this when there's actually a car in front of me. There was one, so I should probably just catch up to it. So, when you're accelerating, it definitely has more power in the middle. Oh, squirrel! Squirrel! Run away! Alright, let's try the adaptive cruise control since there's a vehicle in front of me. Let's see how it works. So I have this cruise set at 59, and there's a stop sign coming, and let me show you the little trick that happens here. As long as this guy doesn't pull off right beforehand. It sees it, I'm not doing anything here, and it's slowing down, and before you panic say you're going to run into that vehicle, no, I will not, because it actually will stop when the vehicle stops, and it'll continue when the vehicle continues, and when you're at a stop sign, that's probably not the best thing to do. Well, this is the stop sign corner, so let's talk about the trunk capacity. Hit it. Take a moment and show you how beautiful this is. It's sculpted almost to a point here. They use not metal, but actually more of a hard resin material to do it. As you see, we have the Access C model, which gives you the bigger tires, as well as you're supposed to get a bigger spoiler on some, but that's optioned out on this one. You do get a nice backup camera here. However, I really like how Volkswagen's backup cameras actually emerge out of the logos to keep it clean, so you will have to clean it once in a while. And then to open it, it's not power lifted, but you don't need it at all. And your the back here is pretty modest. I actually put the owner's manual here. There's some deep pocket room here. This guy does have a spare tire in it, which is nice. And this actually has a hook for when you were working on it. It hooks in there like that. Pretty neat. But it is about the smallest one of the smallest in its class. So keep that in mind. This would be a nice commuter car just for one person. The brisk acceleration, you may think the new 2-liter non-turbocharged engine by Toyota. It has 168 horsepower and 151 pounds of torque. Welcome to the 21st century, Toyota. We welcome you. Thank you. I think you'll find it nice here. Thank gosh, because that 1.8 liter, even though it was one of the reasons why Corollas were the most reliable engine or car in the world is because they've used it since, I believe, the 90s. I think they've updated a little bit in the 2000s, but they've had the same engine forever. They've had the same 2.5 liter engine for a long time. They had the same 3.5 liter V6 for a long time. This is what makes Toyota reliable, is because they don't want to, change their engines. If there's nothing broke with it, why replace it? So I think it was about time for them to replace it. So they did go with the naturally aspirated engine, which is going to be usually more reliable than the turbocharged engines. So this engine here is great. I enjoy it. I think most people will too. I bet we'll see this engine for many, 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 many years to come. Back to the safety features of this car. It does have auto emergency braking when it comes to bikes or passengers. They didn't say anything about deers, which I'm really interested in, especially in Wisconsin where there's a lot of them when you drive at night. The other thing it has, active lane centering assist. So if I go over one of my lanes, like here, it does that annoying beep and it tries to gently put you in the lane. If you just keep your steering wheel off, it does an okay job, except it does like to go from lane to lane. Alright, we're going back. We're going back again. And then it tells you, dude, can you put the wheel or your hands back on the steering wheel, please? That's not what this is meant for. I really like the active safety features in this car. It doesn't have rear cross traffic alert though. Kind of annoying why they took that out of here. They had everything else. Apparently, this car is great for people who have eyes in the back of their head. Let's talk about fuel economy. Currently, I'm doing like a 29 miles per gallon, but that's because I was driving like an asshole. But with my economy drive test, where I did mixed city and highway, it did 32 miles per gallon, which is pretty decent. Now, we are still in the winter, so it'd probably be better in the summer. So in conclusion, who is this car for? Well, if you're an individual who don't need a lot of passenger compartment needs for their friends and doesn't need a lot of cargo capacity, but want something that's fuel efficient and can drive around a tightly compacted city, this might be the good car for you. But with that said, if you're looking for a fuel efficient Toyota that might be reliable, it's too early to tell, and you like its driving, you like its styles, this one might be the good car for you. Toyota did definitely a great job with this generation when it came to fun. They threw out practicality out the window and turned around and made it a bit more enjoyable to drive and updated it with a lot of safety features that come standard that a lot of other cars don't come with. So I'm Tim Lynch. Thank you for watching Calling All Cars. Until next time.